back to my channel. Thank you very much for clicking on this video. If this is your first time here and you'd like to be part of this family, kindly please do me a favor and click on the red button, turn on your post notifications so that every time I post a new video you will be notified. Well, I'm back at it again, and today I'm talking about things that you need to know if you'd like to move to Namibia. Now, first thing first, the first thing that you need to know is that Namibia is officially known as the Republic of Namibia, and we are located in the southern part of Africa, neighboring South Africa. We're neighboring Zimbabwe, Zambia, as well as Botswana. So yeah, our official language is English. So do not be preoccupied. If you're coming from a country where English is spoken and you're worried, oh, are these people going to understand me? What language are we going to speak? No, majority of the people in Namibia speak English, especially in urban areas. Another thing is that we have about 13 recognized languages. So each region in Namibia actually has its own language, and these languages are basically taught in schools. Windhoek is the capital city, but we have about 13 regions. Yes, we have about 13. Is it 13 or 14 now? Oh my god, I think 14 now. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, they are now 14. They used to be 13 before. Please do not judge me, my Namibian. Of course, that just And then, of course, our money, the money that we use in Namibia, is called Namibian dollars, which is equivalent to the South African rand. So I know a lot of people know about South African rand. If you know about South African rand, so it's equivalent to Namibian dollars. So at this point, I've basically spoken about in one of my videos where I spoke about the cost of living in Namibia, looking at housing specifically. Now, obviously, in Namibia, you'd find people that are renting, you'd find people that have bought mortgages, you'd find people that have built houses, they bought land and then they built houses. So it depends on what you prefer and what you can afford at the end of the day. All right. So obviously, if you're coming here for the first time, you will definitely be subjected to renting. So you're going to rent. Now, it depends on where exactly you're going to stay, whether you're going to stay in a big city or whether you're going to stay in a small city. Smaller towns and small cities rather are basically cheap compared to bigger cities such as Windhoek, Stockholm, and so on. So it's really up to you. If you come here and you have a very fat wallet and you can afford the living standards of the capital city, then why not go for it? But if you feel like you need to save up, you need to stay in an area where you can save money, then definitely smaller towns are an ideal for you. Next point is education. So some people might move with their children, family, or yourself. Maybe you want to come here and go to school and so on. Let me start with primary and secondary education. Now, usually we have, creche, we have kindergartens or daycares. If babies are still young and not ready for school, you can take them to creche, or you can take them to kindergartens or daycares where these kids will be taken care of, especially if you're coming to work. If you're coming to work or you're going to be very busy and you have smaller children, then you can take them there and pay a certain fee. Most of them would also range, let's say, from as little as 300 Namibian dollar. It depends on which town, whether it's a capital city or just a smaller town. For example, 300 Namibian dollars is basically in smaller towns. In capital cities, most of the fees for the creche or the daycares or the kindergartens that I know would range from 800 Namibian dollars per month. So it's up to you to decide where you want to take your child, where it's safer or where it's most convenient for you, to be dropping your child every morning and then picking them up. Some creche would advise that you pick up the child at 1 o'clock. If you have to go until 5 o'clock, there would be an additional fee that you have to pay, while others would keep the children rather. Others would keep the children until 5 o'clock when people actually knock off from work, and then you pick up your child and you come home. Now, another thing that I forgot on child care, especially for families that are planning to move to Namibia, you should know that apart from the daycares, you can as well hire a nanny. Okay, there are some organization or companies that have nannies that you can hire, or if you need somebody to clean for you. However, there are also people that look for work, such as, being a nanny. I know in UK apparently a nanny is a grandmother or something, but a nanny, I mean a babysitter, if that is what you call it in your country. So yeah, there are people that look for such jobs actually, where they want to stay with kids or where they want to clean. So you can hire some of them to clean for you or to stay with the child if you don't want to take them to kindergarten. However, I would advise that kindergartens or daycares are much better compared, to having nannies at home. So education is basically compulsory, and compulsory education begins usually at the age of 5 to 6 with grade 0. So we have that grade 0 where kids that are coming from kindergarten or creche actually start in grade 0 before they go to grade 1. Now grade 1, which is the first grade, actually the children need to be 7 years old for them to go to grade 1. At private schools, they might start earlier with the age of 5 or 6. I know about that, but government schools especially, I have an experience about that, where my child actually went to a private school and then I moved her to a government school. When I moved her to a government school, she was very young, so even though she passed her first grade, they had to keep her in the first grade because they believe that it's not good for the development of the child for when they start very early. So my child had to repeat. So government schools, the first grade, which we call grade 1 here, starts with the age of 7, and then they proceed up to the 12th grade. So it goes up to the 12th grade. So after the 12th grade, then the student has to go to university. With the new curriculum, students can go to university from grade 11 or the 11th grade. But those that want to do high level or AS, then they proceed to grade 12, and after grade 12, they can go to university. In this case, they can apply to universities outside the country with their AS level. Primary school and secondary school in Namibia is actually free for government schools, all right? So it's free for government schools. They just have to buy stationery, they have to buy cleaning materials, they have to buy school uniform, and so on, all right? That is for government schools. If it's private schools, you are going to dig deep into your pocket, to pay a certain amount. So it depends on the quality of education at that certain private school, because there are certain private schools that employ teachers that are not really well qualified. As such, they don't really charge a lot, or they don't really charge much from parents. However, the schools that know that, they have qualified teachers. Some of their teachers have master's degrees, their principals have PhDs, and so on. The schools with a very good quality education, you will have to dig deep into your pocket. Some schools would charge about 5,000 per semester or trimester. There are actually 3 terms in Namibia. Okay, there are 3 terms in Namibia where the students would start from January until April, and then they go for a break, they come back May, June, July until August, they go for a break, they come back, and then they finish up until December. So there are 3 terms. And we have good private schools such as the Catholic school, St. Boniface in the Kavango region, the best private schools. And then we have a school of excellence as well, which is known as Rukonga Vision School. These schools that I'm mentioning are actually found in the northeastern part of Namibia. Rukonga Vision School is known as a school of excellence, which was established by the government actually, where they send these best students that are not able to actually pay for schools, or from the vulnerable communities or orphans and vulnerable children. So it's a school of excellence where everything is provided, students are well supervised and so on, and these kids are basically doing very well, extremely well. And then of course we have other private schools such as St. Paul's in Windhoek, and the Elsin schools as well in different regions. So yeah, most of the private schools are basically doing well. including some government schools where, you know, discipline is well maintained, where teachers are really serious and so on. So when you come, you just have to check and do your research as to which school you'd like to enroll your child. So after secondary education now, the kids have to go to university. So we have the main University of Namibia. I did a separate video, like I said, on that regarding the tuition fees. And then we have NUST, which we call the Namibian University of Science and Technology. Before, it used to be Polytechnic of Namibia, but it was changed to the Namibian University of Science and Technology. And then, of course, we have the International University of Management, which is IUM. This is also another university that actually has campuses throughout the country, just like NUST as well as UNAM. UNAM has about 12 campuses, and then, of course, other centers. And then, of course, you get the College of Arts. And this is for people that want to do arts, you know, drama and acting, you know, radio, presenting, and so on, fashion design. Even though these courses are also offered at the University of Namibia, at the College of Arts, it's more practical. They go into it practically. Of course, we have the VTCs all over the country, the vocational training centers where people do plumbing, where people do, you know, what is this? Not engineering, but mechanic work, you know, those practical hand work. It's students study them basically at the vocational training center. Some of them, you know, can start up their businesses. I know of people that studied auto mechanic, and they have their own garages where they fix cars, and then others have their own businesses where they build, and so on and so on. So apart from that, there are also a whole lot of other universities that I'm not going to mention here. And then we move on to health care. All right, we move on to healthcare. So basically in Namibia we have private hospitals, and then we have public hospitals. Public hospitals are all over the country, all right? So in different towns, you get both private and public hospitals, including the capital city, except if you go deep into the remote areas. But what I know is that there are certain people that are trained actually to give medicine to people in remote areas. Public hospitals, they just charge as little as $4. Before, that is what I knew, especially at the clinics, all right? At the clinics, they charge as little as $4. But I remember during the time that I used to go to the clinic, that if you didn't have that $4, they wouldn't even ask you. There are certain people that don't have anything, but if they go to the clinic, they'll be assisted, all right? And then, of course, at the state hospitals, rather, the state hospitals or big hospitals, some hospitals will charge $10, other hospitals will charge 15 Namibian dollars. However, if you don't have it as well, they won't charge you. We also have private doctors, general practitioners, as well as specialists. Now, for private doctors, you will have to dig deep into your pocket, you know, to pay if you don't have medical insurance or a medical scheme that we call in Namibia medical aid. You'd find government employees that have a medical scheme, and then of course private employees, and private employees also have a medical scheme. If you don't have any of that and you'd prefer going to a private doctor, because private doctors are seen to be more, the service is actually efficient compared to, you know, public hospitals where you have to go and stand in queues because there are a lot of people. With medical insurance or medical scheme or medical aid, rather, like we call it here in Namibia, you will only have to pay consultation fee, as well as maybe when you pick up for some medical schemes, maybe when you pick up your medicine from the pharmacy, you'd also have to pay something, but it's not even a lot of money. Usually when I go to the hospital, I just pay a 50 Namibian dollar for consultation fees. If I'm going to that doctor for the first time, that private doctor for the first time, I may as well pay just a $50 to open a file with them. So it's not a lot of money. And when I pick up my medicine at the pharmacy, it actually depends on what type of medicine. Mostly I don't pay anything at all. Also, if you don't want to go to a private hospital or you don't want to go to a public hospital, you can as well buy medicine in the pharmacies. However, there are drugs that will not be given to you unless you have a prescription from a doctor.